And now British Finance Minister George Osborne has abandoned the government's promise to eliminate the budget deficit by 2020, sparking forecasts of more austerity pain to come following the Brexit.
And it's incredibly important we maintain fiscal credibility, that we are tough on the deficit while being realistic about achieving the surplus by the end of the decade. That is exactly what our fiscal rules provided for.
Osborne said that Britain needs to reduce uncertainty by moving as quickly as possible to a new relationship with Europe. He said austerity measures would go longer following Britain's vote to leave the EU. He also urged the government to provide fiscal credibility. Remarks were made following the Conservative government of British Prime Minister David Cameron promise to drop the budget surplus by 2020. Now, Mr. Tony Gosling is joining us out of Bristol, investigative journalist. Now, Mr. Gosling, how bad do you see the economic consequences of the Brexit getting for the UK in the future?
Actually, I don't think there's any particularly negative consequences. Look, George Osborne's talking about protecting our fiscal credibility. He's got no fiscal credibility. He's never had any fiscal credibility in his plans. Most ordinary economics professors, etc., in Britain have pointed out that his plan is totally flawed from the outset. When he was first elected and when he was running in 2010, he said he would promise to balance the books by 2015. Well, he never was going to do that, but it made a promise far enough into the future that people thought it might be credible. Then in February this year, he's saying it's going to be 2020 before he balances the books, and now he's just dropped that completely. Well, this has got nothing to do with Brexit vote or anything else. It's just that there is a complete and utter black hole in the British economy, actually in the Western world's economy, where our national debt is now over £1.7 trillion, and it's climbing at a rate of something like £2,500 a second. I think it's £200 billion a year is now being added to our national debt, and he's doing absolutely nothing about it. So it shows the extent to which people can get away with effectively lying to the world and to the public about the state of the nation's finances.
Right, and supporters of the Leave camp, they believe they can negotiate a strong trade deal with the EU while restricting free movement and getting the UK back on a positive economic path. Do you believe this is a possibility, or is it a pipe dream?
It's a pipe dream because there is no real positive economic path at the moment. Nothing's being done to put the banking system in order. Mario Draghi, Super Mario, over at the European Central Bank, he's adding 80 billion euros a month to the euro economies, and still he's on zero interest rates. In fact, some countries on negative interest rates, which means that all of the pension funds and the insurance companies that rely on interest to keep them going are going to fail. This crash, when it comes, is not going to be like a bailout. I think it'll be like a proper crash. Basically, people like Osborne are thrashing around for something to blame it on, whether it be some kind of oil crisis, a war, or Brexit is the latest thing that's come along, and that's why he's blamed it on that. Look, there are countries around the world, some of the superpowers are doing something to counter the complete failure of the West to manage its economic affairs. Of course, companies like Goldman Sachs that were involved in 2008 with AIG should have been allowed to completely go bust. We would have had a crisis at the time, but then we would be back to because capitalism died in 2008. It's a very good article on the Huffington Post website which talks about that. They've come up with alternatives to the SWIFT payment system. CIPS, the Chinese system, very, very good. They've come up with the BRICS Development Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. What's happening is the rest of the world is going round the old order because the old order has completely failed financially. What's going on is a socialism for the 1% here in the West, where the financial system is being managed to prop up the super rich, and they're basically saying that the poorer people and those with savings, etc., can go hang. That's effectively what's happened, and the financial system, at some point, this bubble is going to go bang.
Thank you, Mr. Tony Gosling, for your input, sir. That was Mr. Tony Gosling joining us out of Bristol, investigative journalist.